Well, hello, everybody, and happy Friday to you and yours. I have a message, um, something that crossed my mind. So, I know that there has been, I know that it is, a good thing for people to unify. It's, unification is a very powerful thing, very powerful. And I think that it's absolutely necessary, especially when we're talking about nation building, right? When we're talking about community and things. As it relates to, people in the Black community, because, I've made other videos and made content and shared my views and thoughts on, Black people and the Black family, content specifically speaking about the Black community and Black people, because obviously I am a Black woman. I am of African descent, and in a lot of that content I was talking about how I love everybody, and I said that because some people feel like when Black folks begin to talk about what's good for them or things that would empower us, it's a threat. If I'm being absolutely honest, it's a threat to some people, and it's a threat to the system, and they feel as though a lot of people who are one-track minded or doesn't have an expanded consciousness or expanded way of thinking tend to think that if Black people talk about Black empowerment or just things that are powerful for the Black community, they feel as though you're racist. And I give a disclaimer because I have a big family, but my family is very colorful, and I come from a city where it's a melting pot. So, it's some of everybody. I wasn't raised to be racist, but I am a Black woman, and I am very conscious and aware of the challenges that the Black community have faced, and what the Black community continues to face. So, in regards to unification and, building community, specifically with, encouraging Black marriage, I think that it is a very important thing. Black marriages, that is. I actually came up on a study, and it shows statistically that Black marriages has increased drastically since 1990. So that was quite impressive, considering what some people say, that Black marriages actually have declined. Whether it has or it hasn't, I'm always going to be rooting for the Black family. I'm always going to be rooting for the nuclear family, because if Black people are going to become more powerful and build our communities and build our own nation, we're always greater in numbers, and unification is always the best strategy and the best move. And family is always first. It always has been first, and it should always be first. It should always be a priority. So I'm always advocating for unification. I'm always advocating for Black marriage and the Black family, and I always have, and I always will. I think that healthy relationships is a very necessary thing, to empower and to assist in building the community, right? More so, of course, in a helpmate type of situation, but after you have established your home and your foundation, and you're taking care of, the kids is taken care of, and everybody in the household, everyone is taken care of, then you may use your resources to be able to assist others where they need help at. But individuals looking for folks to either pour from an empty cup, or looking for people in the community, whether they be powerful voices or whatever, but they're looking for them to do certain things where they don't have certain manpower or assistance, is an unrealistic expectation. So as it relates to the Black community, I always feel as though we all need each other, and I always feel as though Black marriage and building community is a very powerful thing. As I said, I've always felt that way, and I always will. Now, I want to go on to another topic that I would like to mention, and that is the topic of unifying and banding together in a general sense. A lot of people are saying we need to unify and band together, and they're speaking of it in a general sense as if everybody should unify with each other. In a perfect world where there isn't all of the evil that's taking place, and where there isn't devils that has a lot of control in this system that we're under, that would be ideal unification. But considering the circumstances and what is already established in a system, it is a time where I have said, and I'm going to continue to say, that people need to be extra cautious and be very aware of what energy they're taking in, who they are connecting with, who they are communing with, who they're in community with. And I don't absolutely think that it's healthy and that it is a strategy or a power move to unify with everybody, because people are suffering in connection and relationships, households, organization, etc., where they are accepting a lot of things that are at their disadvantage or might be to their detriment. And why is that? Because there is a lot of individuals in the world who are not strong enough. They're already programmed, and they're already brainwashed and hypnotized up here. So they're already being handled. So a lot of people, they can't even think for themselves at the least bit. So they don't have the spiritual stamina, or even the physical strength, or even the mental capacity to say no in all of these different areas of their lives, and all of these relationships, because that's what it is, right? Whether we're talking about business, whether we're talking about romantic, whether we're talking about platonic friendship, family. And people are in these relationships and connections that are toxic, that is actually not feeding them, but it's actually to their detriment. So I don't think that unification is absolutely the best move. I don't think that it's the most power player move, unifying with everybody. Because as I said in a previous upload, some people can be to your detriment, and some people are just too high risk. So unification, absolutely, with the right individuals. There are individuals who are suffering and they don't have peace. So am I that individual? Am I that person that's going to tell somebody we all need to band together and we're greater in numbers, where there's individuals who can't even think for themselves that's being manipulated, and individuals who carry negative energy, who are manipulating other people? I don't think so. I don't think that that is an intelligent move. Why would you go and unify with someone who is considered the opposition or an adversary? That doesn't sound like an intelligent or wise move or decision. As I said before, I'll say again, there are individuals out here in the world who are suffering. They're suffering because of their choices. They're suffering in silence. They say community. Oh, community is a powerful thing, but they're suffering in their communities. Some people that they don't feel that they even have the support or they don't feel that they have the opportunity to be freely themselves. They're being influenced by a fantasy world, a world of materialism and superficiality. So what I would say to them is absolutely find the individuals that you can trust and who you'll be safe in community with, those that are feeding you and building you. Tapping in with yourself, staying to yourself. If you can't find individuals that are good for you, that are going to help build you and raise you, sometimes you have to tap in with yourself. Change the algorithm. Block some people if you need to. Cut some people off if you need to. Unfollow some people if you need to. These are going to be the necessary things to help people to maintain their peace, and then they don't have certain discrepancies or have even false being fed through their eyes and their ears, false representations of what success looked like in this material world. Feeling the pressures, a lot of young folks, right? Feeling the pressures of what they believe success looks like, because that's all that they're being shown, that's all that they see. Changing the algorithm. So one might say, Bree, how do you change the algorithm? Again, I would say blocking some individuals, unfollowing some pages, finding different things that you're interested in, different pages, different accounts, if you will, different people. A lot of us have, multiple interests, So, what is it that is causing individuals to be in a deep depression where, a lot of people can't get out of bed? We know that substance abuse is a big one, but they can't get out of bed, or they can't get out of their four walls, or they're stuck in a loop, A lot of it is social media. And, they talk about the youth and they say, I often think about the youth, and it's probably just because I have a youngster at home. But, they talk about the youth and they say, oh, this generation is so bad. Oh, it's just off the chain. And I'm in total agreement with it. But, we are also in agreement, the parents, that is, where we acknowledge that social media is playing a big role in that. So, I brought up the topic about unification in the Black community, and then I talked about, I wanted to specify, not everybody not unifying together, everybody not being in unification together, because it's just not healthy to be in unification with any and everybody. Like I said, some people are more detriment to people's health than a blessing or a gift. Some people are, I'm gonna keep it all the way raw and real. Some people are more of a curse to people than not. So in this time, we always say that we're reading energy. So yeah, we want to read energy, but do people have the ability to not only read, but to be able to discern what an individual's intentions is? Because some people read certain individuals' energy, and then they want to deem them as something that is not of the light. When sometimes people, especially because we're dealing with a very hard-headed generation, sometimes people need to be addressed with an assertive energy or frequency, or someone who can be very live and direct with them. Not saying that they have to be hurtful or that they have to be mean, but some people don't understand a message unless you deliver it to them or give it to them straight or deliver it to them in a certain type of way, because that's all that they understand, right? So we're dealing with a generation where they talk about how it's off the chain and social media and things, where there's some really, soft or sweet individuals where you could talk to them real sweet and real soft and kind, and some individuals, whether the young folks, the kids, or even some adults, you could talk to them real sweet and kind and like this, right? And soft and sweet. And then there's some people that you got to talk to them in your mommy voice, that like, yo, this is serious, right? Being very assertive with them because they don't understand the other way. They don't understand that you deliver to them in the other way or the other energy. So certain situations dictate certain reactions or modes of communication, different frequencies, But when we're talking about people with real heavy mental issues where they have been diagnosed, and where, because it is a generation of technology, and a lot of these youngsters who are always on social media and trying to keep up with social media and things, they should be advised and they should know that, it's a good move. It will be to their benefit to change the algorithm, change a circle. Unification is not always the answer. Being in community with just any and everybody, to be around somebody, have somebody in your face, is not always the answer. I mean, even adults. A lot of adults are afraid to be alone. There's a lot of adults who can't even be by themselves. And they say that community and unification is the answer. And what do I say to that? Oh yeah, the right community and righteous unification. There are people who are being manipulated. There are people who are in positions of power that are corrupt, that are toxic. There are individuals who think that people should be in community with them or unifying with individuals who have the mind of certain people's enemies. I think that it will be very foolish of a woman like me to be in community with somebody who is considered to be the opposition or an adversary, or someone who is in the likeness of that or have the mind of that. I don't think that that's smart. So I said all of that to say that I am absolutely in support of community. But I am on the other hand, I am absolutely in support of us being very choosy in this time. Just moving strategically. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with protecting your peace. When you have a peace of mind and you have a clear conscience and you can think clearly and you have calm and everything is just stable and it's running smooth, then you have an advantage you're at an advantage, but you can also make wise and sound decisions as far as what your next move is going to be and what you should do or where you should go. And that's also where wisdom and discernment come in at. So, again, I said all of that to say, I don't think that people should be quick to just be in connection and relation and community with any and everybody. I think that you should consider certain things. Who are you in community with? Who are you in connection with? Of course, what their energy is. What are their intentions? And who are they connected to? Are they connected to individuals that may be problematic or controversial to you? Do they make you feel good? Oh, that's a big one. So, this message was to say, choose and choose wisely. Ashe.